All right. All right. So, welcome to the Focus Podcast. Sorry about we were a little late, but we have here the creator, of course, Shelley Jarrett. She's going to be discussing her documentary film, "What About Us?" And first of all, we're gonna delve right into her background first before we get into the film, of course. You are the founder of SMJ Magazine, which is
Yes, I'm the
yes.
founder and
So
publisher.
tell us a little bit about that. How that came about for you.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. And how I started the magazine, I was in financial services for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And came a point in time when I wanted to take a little bit more control over my time, over my life. So I decided to go back to school to do an entrepreneurial course,
Mm-hmm.
women's entrepreneurial course, to just take some, have some ideas on how I can start my own business. So first of all, I started as an image consultant
Uh huh.
after I graduated from that course. And what I did was workshops in the community, teaching women how to dress for success in the workplace, like stay at home moms wanting to go back out into the workforce. I
Mm-hmm.
would teach them, like, communication skills, how to present yourself. And so, doing that for a while, I started to get a lot of following on social media. And so well, first of all, my husband he's the artist, he's the writer, he's the editor, because he wrote for some major newspapers. So I approached him and I said, I want to take this work that I'm doing with women to a wider platform. And I said, would you, by this time I have no experience about media,
Mm-hmm.
no experience in publishing, but I just said, would you be my editor? I want to start a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I just, because I was doing image consulting, I wanted to stay with things to do with image and how to build your brand and that kind of stuff. So I just put on social media, this is 6 years ago, I
Mm-hmm.
started the magazine in 2012. I looking for some writing contributors who would like to write about health or lifestyle, anything to do with fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I found I got a flood of people writing that they wanted to write.
Yes.
And basically, that's how the magazine was launched, June 21st, 2012.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yes.
So I saw that in your bio that you have received so many accolades,
Hmm.
been nominated for Marty Awards, and
Yes.
um, you are prominent in the Black community and in South Africa. You
Got
had
an award. Yes.
yes. So how does it feel to be recognized? Of course, first off, you can
Well,
talk about
first of
that.
all, I'm truly humbled that others, my peers, would, see me doing the work that needs to be done. First of all, I'm a community person. I love community. And before that, my background really is social work. But this is going back 25 years ago.
Right.
I did do social work. I worked with women. So, but when my kids were little, I wanted to do something a little different because, in the women's issues with domestic violence, I said it was a bit dark, and I really wanted to. I find that I wasn't, and I was younger at the time, so I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't really help the women the way I really wanted to.
Uh-huh.
So that environment was a little bit. I liked what I did, but it was a bit hard to do at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't getting the results because, with domestic violence, it's a lot, it's heavy. And so I moved into the financial services. So that's where I spent like 20 years in marketing, and I worked for some of the major banks and so forth. So I was always community and building community. And so it was easy to transfer those skills into still working with women, always women.
Mm-hmm.
The magazine is about men as well, both men and women, but primarily women.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was much easier for me to do that. So that's where my passion is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been doing a lot of fashion shows. Like I said, the magazine is business. I give small businesses an opportunity to showcase their business, tell their stories. We focus on fashion and design, arts and entertainment, beauty and fashion, and faith and community. And then
Mm-hmm.
on the image side, we focus on branding and how to present yourself, in a business atmosphere. So we stayed in those three areas because it's so broad, it's so much to
Mm-hmm.
do. So
Yes,
I
a lot to
developed
do.
a
Yeah.
lot of skills. A lot. We have a small team, but I do a lot of the marketing because that's where my skills are.
Hmm.
Sponsorships. We've pretty much built the magazine on collaborations and partnerships.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's really hard, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I've developed all that, so people get to know me in the community,
Mm.
and yeah, that's how I've developed it. And like I have a following on social media,
Yes.
people know of me, and so I do events, right? Myself and most some of the interviews, most of the bigger ones my husband do, but I do ones that is mean something to me that I like.
Hmm.
So I do some interviews at times. So yeah, so that's how we've developed the magazine.
Can you give us an example of where you pointed somebody in the right direction in terms of like their business, and they came to you and they actually said, Shelley, we need help, and can you help us out with this business or this opportunity? Can you give us a little example, and then how you felt good about that
Sure.
opportunity? Yeah.
Well, again, I always have the helping, caring. That's my personality. And so I'm always willing to help. And so, like I said, I work with quite a few businesses, but there's so many like businesses that, but one primarily is this organization that has this 100 black women to watch. Like we do their magazines. Like this is a network of black women across Canada that are doing some awesome work, right? And so the CEO and founder, I was awarded the award in 2015, and so I thought she was doing a great job of getting women together because that's basically what I like to do, a network and getting people together and collaborate. And so we've become friends, and we sponsor that program. And this year again, she's doing it for 1 week. Before she did just a weekend
Yeah.
of getting together the women come, and then there's a gala night, and she presented with awards and that. And this year she's doing it for one whole week. So I'm heavily involved with that
Hmm.
with her. Like I said, we print the magazines for her, and yeah. So I like that. That's major partnership. It
Yes.
developed from me getting an award
Yeah.
to me proving myself in the community
Yeah.
that now they've hired us to do the magazine. So it's even a better presentation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so, how do you sustain this role, of course, and then how do you sustain the role and the image that you need to sustain
Right.
to do further work, and of
Right.
course increase that trajectory of like
Right.
positivity?
Right. First of all, I love what I do. I'm self motivated. I know I'm operating my purpose, so it gives me much joy to be able to do events. It gives me much joy to go out there. All our stories are original. We don't do cut and paste. We don't do menus. We don't do that kind of stuff. All original stories because we find there's a lot of stories. Our magazine is from a diverse perspective, and so we actually go to the community, interview the person. And there's always a story behind the story because in our communities, there's so many good stories, but the media doesn't seem to come into our communities to get all the
Hmm.
good. So you hear all the negative stuff, but there's a lot of good things. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, like myself.
Hmm.
And so I try to, from my experience, like even recently, a few days ago, I met someone that I met her on social media, and I see how she works really hard, and she's trying to get into the media environment. So we met for coffee. Sometimes I would meet people, I'd meet them for coffee, and she just loves what I'm doing. She's so motivated and inspired by what I'm doing that
Hmm.
she wants to be in media. So I
Yeah.
was able to give her some tips
Yeah.
and some advice on how to go about things, how you build this business by partners,
Hmm.
collaborating with partners, and yeah, so she was like very happy about that. So that's my job. Like people
Hmm.
call on me, can you explain to me how I can do this, how I can, and I'm more than happy to do it.
Nice.
Yes.
Very nice. So let's take a look at the trailer for What About Us, and
Oh,
let's
sure.
let's pop that up,
Sure.
Jeff.
My name is Shelley Jarrett. I am Guyanese. I am the creator of the project What About Us? These are the faces of us.
My cultural background is indigenous of the Haudenosaunee. My experience was being sexually assaulted by a man I knew.
My background is Jamaican, and my experience was abuse in the home by extended family members.
I am Canadian born of East Indian background. I was emotionally, physically, and mentally abused by my ex-husband.
I am Canadian born to parents who immigrated from India. When I was a little girl, I was molested by a cousin who was much, much older, and I suppressed it for many, many years.
I'm Rachel Cruz, and I'm Filipino-Canadian. I was sexually assaulted by a member of my community.
I am Canadian born with Bajan descent. My experience was workplace abuse in corporate Canada.
And I am Italian. I started to experience sexual abuse when I was 6 years old, and it followed me through my teenage years and adult life.
My name is Melissa Helen Kimberly Hood, and I am 7th generation Canadian born with Native descent.
7th generation.
And I have experienced 32 years of abuse. I'm no longer a victim, but a true survivor.
So I guess so there is a story of how this came about, and of course with you and
Yes.
Andrew, of course, can you
Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Well, what had happened? I have never heard of Me Too. Like, I've been out of the women abuse environment for over 25 years. Remember, I said
Yeah.
I did that when I have a degree in social work, but
Yeah.
I
Went
only
too
stayed
far.
in the field for like 2 years.
Yeah, and then you went to
And
financial.
then 20 years I spent in financial service. So I was not in that environment at all. So here comes this Golden Globe speech with Oprah Winfrey, and she talked about these women and Harvey Weinstein. Well, no, not at that time. It wasn't Harvey Weinstein. A little bit before that, I started hearing about these women and these actresses and this Me Too. And I'm thinking, what is this Me Too all about? And then it so happened that by this time I had not heard of Tarana Burke at all.
Yeah,
I had
okay.
no idea. And then there's this Golden Globe speech with Oprah Winfrey, and she mentioned about this Me Too and what's going on. So my husband decided that, okay, let's explore that a little bit. You know, these are all women in the entertainment industry and political arena and high profile women. Let's look at one of our writers, he said to her, well, what I would like you to do is to go in the community, interview some women, 5 women, and find out about their experience in the Me Too, like what they've experienced. And she went out and he said, I don't want all one culture. I want mix it up, make it diverse, find diverse women. And she did that, and she wrote a beautiful article of 5 women. Like, I didn't know the women anything. When I read the article, I said, oh my God. Well, before that, what had happened, one of the interviewees, she did a Facebook Live one day, and she had just got the magazines, and she was like screaming to the top of her head. She was so happy. Like, this article was done. She talked about her story, and she felt really, really good that she was able to tell her story, and she could maybe help so many people.
Yeah.
And I think at the time she was ill, or she had a broken toe or ankle or something to that effect. But I just when she got that magazine, it like made her so happy. Like, she forgot she was sick. You should hear it.
Yeah.
And so that got inspiration right away. I said, oh my God, I have to do something for this woman. This sounds like I have to do a documentary. And I approached my husband and I said, okay, I showed him the video, and I said, I think we have to bring this to the mainstream, right? We have to bring this. Look at these women's stories. I'm so touched because it took me back 25 years when I worked in that environment. And I'm thinking now, okay, I feel a sense of responsibility because now that I have a media platform, I think we're in a better space now that I can do something a lot better that I can do at that time. So that's how the idea came about to do the documentary.
So did you pick the same subjects that from the article, or did you?
Well,
What did you go and
yes,
search for new?
yes, we did.
Yeah.
So what had happened? Those were 5 women. So 4 of them are now in the documentary.
Right.
So I approached them. I called and I said, "Would you like to do a documentary?" And I said, "It's going to be a little different because this is a magazine. There's only a few people that may see it, but on the big screen is a whole different story." And they all wanted to tell their story. They said yes. And so we had to find a few more cultures. Like, we want to have it so diverse. So we did some casting. We put out a casting and we did some casting. And yeah, we found 3 more. And there was, so we had, at first we had 7, and my husband is still not comfortable. He wanted a South Asian person, like, because we know that this is happening in all communities. It's not just one community. This is a societal issue. It's like it happens everywhere. And so he would not rest. And I said, no, we can't wait because time is going. We got to start filming. But God has been so good to us. The day we finished filming, the Rachel, she's Filipino, she posted on Facebook, and I was in the mall, shopping or whatever, and I got a call from the director, and she said, "Oh, I have a story for you." Because I was asking everyone in the Filipino community, and everybody says no, and I'm thinking, oh, how come nobody in their community doesn't happen? I don't believe it. So it didn't sit well with me. So when the director called and she says, "Oh, I got a Filipino for you. I got a story. This person that I know just posted on Facebook of her experience of sexual assault." And I said, well, we have to approach her. And we approached her, and she agreed to do it, and she's part of the documentary. So that's make it 8 women. So it's just by luck. Just God, well, not luck, it's God, because He knew that we wanted like 1 more.
Right.
And she came just the day we just finished filming.
Okay, we'll get back to Rachel, is her name,
Yeah.
right? So we'll get back to her. I wanted to ask, was there one of these ladies who you felt more tied to while you were doing the film, or like you felt emotionally drawn to, or were they all of an equal surface?
They're all equal. All their stories are so different. What we did, we interviewed each and every one of them. Me being the social worker, I listened, because that's what a social worker does. But I broke down a couple times. Like, these stories are really, I could not, because like I said, I left that field for a while, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Like, and so each story, like I said, is heart-wrenching. A couple of times on set, I have to leave the set and just go have a good cry. Very dramatic, these women are courageous. And, I thank them every day for telling their stories, because these are hard stories. But the point is about the stories is that it's their own story. This is a factual documentary. We're not bashing men. We're not bashing anybody. These women most of them have moved on. They have their own careers. They're authors. They have books. They're
survivors.
They're ready. They're
Yeah,
survivors.
yes.
They're ready to help others tell their story and, help in whatever way they can by speaking out. And so that was the premise of the whole. It's about education and awareness. It's about what happens in our community. It's about breaking the silence. And
how did you pick the sort of setting to do these interviews, and like which was I guess it would have to be the most comfortable setting and a comfortable atmosphere to talk about such a big issue such as this, right? So not giving anything away from the film, but like, because everybody's going to come see it.
It was all done at my home because it's the safest place. I mean, I had to gain their trust. They had to trust me to, and I think it's a little, again, I said, and I'll tell you a little story. It's a funny story, but I must tell it
Sure,
because
absolutely.
sometimes we women think we know it all, but sometimes we don't. We need another ear. We need to listen to our spouses. Or when we first decided to do the story, when I spoke to my husband about it, I just like, oh, this is a woman's story. This is, these women were hurt. I don't want any men involved. I eat those words back because it was my husband that ended up doing all the interviews.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It just happened coincidentally because what happened, it was myself and the director that started interviewing the ladies, and like I said, they came to my home and we set appointments. They came to my home. We talked for quite a while. And one day, I think the director, she had some car challenges and she couldn't get there. So all the ladies are there. And I got to do, my husband is upstairs minding his own business because remember now I said I don't want no men involved. I'm doing this. It's a women's stuff. And remember now my husband does interviews. But this is like, I felt this is just so much a woman's project. And we were waiting and we couldn't wait anymore. So I just approached her and I says, would you like to do this interview? Because I personally did not want that role. For some reason, I just didn't want that role.
Okay.
And I felt myself or the director would do a lot better than I would.
Yeah.
And so he came down and he did the interview and everything was great. They loved it.
Nice.
Even one of the ladies said, oh, I love interview from a man. It was so good. And my husband's experience with
Absolutely.
But for some reason I thought he couldn't touch on these topics, but he did a great job, and we all bonded as like one big family. So
Not to give the film away, but what were were these sexual abuse, were they from within the family, or were some of them when they were children?
Yes.
And
yes,
so
there
it's the most
it's
it's
all
the most
different forms of abuse, and we had child molestation, harassment in the workplace, all different forms of abuse. Yes.
And
Sexual assault.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, do you how are they viewing this film after now that it's filmed, and how are they is the film therapeutic for them, like now that
Well, they haven't seen
they
it.
haven't seen it
Well,
yet, so
so take you back a little bit. We did 2 hours of filming for 2 days.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2 days of filming. We went because we have 2 indigenous women in the film. We went to the reserve, and that was an experience for me because I've never been to the reserve, so I was just so excited about that. And it was a 2-hour drive, and the whole experience was just very positive, very good. And so like we did 2 hours. We interviewed the women. We did the filming right in their homes because it's comfortable for them, and they're familiar with the environment.
Yeah.
So we did that. And so we filmed for 2 days, like I said. And Rachel's, we had to do it at another time because she was, remember I said she came in later. And so, it was very, I don't know, because this is my first documentary, my first film. I have no
It's gonna be great,
experience,
don't
but
worry.
everything just worked out.
yes.
It's a great experience. A lot of emotions. I think how I would assess ourselves as filmmakers, I don't think any therapist could have gotten what we got out of those ladies.
Right.
That's the big
Excellent.
impact.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
I think it's a big deal. It's not that easy to get people to tell the darkest part of their lives.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's God. We just got the stories.
Yes. That's
We
great.
just got the stories, and they were all willing participants, and they wanted to tell their story. They want to be able to help other people tell their stories.
How do you? I also read the interview that Andrew, of course, did, and he also talked about. The question was like following the footsteps of your father, and he said he didn't want to follow his footsteps because
Yeah,
he didn't want,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's all a form of communication. He kept it inside and stuff
Yeah.
like that, um, and when I was reading that, it's funny that because my father was an alcoholic, and when I was just a little child, I would watch my mom and my father quarrel all the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't really like there wasn't really like sexual abuse, or there were times where it almost looked like it was going to be physical abuse, right?
Yeah,
So
it's upsetting for
yeah,
a
it's upsetting.
child.
But on that part, it was just more of along the lines of my dad was an alcoholic, and he was drinking all the time. But that's what they were doing back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Like just drinking and
It
drinking.
starts with different
Yeah.
challenges in the home.
Yeah,
and it escalates to different things.
yeah. So, but to this day, God rest his soul. To this day, I felt that he never had the chance to actually express himself the way that he without the alcohol. Do you know what I mean? Like express his way
that's usually
effectively.
the challenge for
Yeah.
men. Most men,
Yeah.
yes, they don't get to speak up, and yeah, and it's funny because what we did, and we did that on purpose. Lakeisha Giddens, she's the writer for the original stories. We had her interview us, and she interviewed my husband about that, and actually it's the first time I was hearing about it. I think I'm sorry, he did mention to me about that happened to him as a teenager, what he witnessed his dad doing to his mom, and so he was upset, and but we didn't like dive deep into because we had no idea this documentary would come about, right? And sometimes these are not things you really want to discuss, right? You put it in the back burner unless something comes up or whatever. But we did had a brief conversation about that way before all this happened, and so I think it was very good for him to disclose. So because people may want to question, well, why is he about the film, or why is he interviewing the women or something? But it touches him. It touches everyone, really.
Yeah.
This is both male and female issues, not just women. So I think it was awesome that he's so heavily involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can we pull up the Tanara Burke video? I believe I have that, but let's talk about Tanara Burke, who made
Why I know like Me Too is in Tarana's spirit and in her DNA is because before the program had a name, before the hashtag, years before the program, Tarana and other women would come together and create this intentional all-women space. It was always a safe space for young women to talk about their trauma. Those spaces continued for the next 10 years, and Tarana took people on for the next 10 years.
There are things coming to fruition right now that I scribbled down in a notebook 10 years ago. That feels incredible, and also like a little bit like a fairy tale, albeit an odd social justice fairy tale.
Yes.
Yeah, she is from New York.
So we're on our way to Black Girls Rock. It's an annual award show celebrating dynamic Black women and girls' achievements, and I'm being honored tonight.
Thank you so much. You made my whole day. What did I missed? She came up and gave a hug and said, "You look so beautiful." Oh, I know that's fun.
Coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Me Too going viral, for me, it is really about letting the world see the work that we have been doing for the last year, the groundwork that we've been laying, and like the team we've been building to really accommodate the need that has come out of the viral moment, right? The need already existed, but the viral moment just amplified it. And so there's been so much talk and focus on individual perpetrators and salacious stories and those kind of things, and very little conversation about the people who actually said Me Too.
I'm an organizer now, that's my career, and largely because she's one of the 3 people that like invested in me. That was like a remarkable change in my life. So that's how we met. Because I had been sexually, because I had been raped, which is something that I'm new to saying. Because I had been raped, my behavior was erratic and I was being at risk.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I think that what I haven't had a chance to do in these last few months is to reflect. Before, people were doing research about like how black girls are hypersexualized, and this is what we saw. It's this way that the world doesn't recognize trauma in black girls, and so what people would dismiss and say she's troubled or she's this and that, they couldn't dismiss in somebody like Celeste because she's so smart. They couldn't dismiss it in me because I was smart. I think what we've seen in this explosion of Me Too, people always ask me, am I surprised? I'm not really surprised because I've seen the power of community.
I'm like forever indebted to you.
You don't owe me anything.
And although I don't owe you, the way that you showed up for me makes me want to forever be in service to you and to your work because it's transformational. I'm a testament to that. There's a lot of Celestes, and
there's only one Celeste.
Yeah, there's only one.
Okay,
She's powerful.
Yeah, so we'll stop right there.
Yeah.
So Tanera made an appearance here at the Toronto Black Film Festival. What were your thoughts on listening to her speak at the TBFF?
Yeah, well, luckily it was the second time I'm seeing her because she was here for the first time at Mohawk College last fall.
Okay.
So I went there, myself and my husband, we went, the place was packed out. I was so touched by what she had to say. Like, again, it took me right back to what I worked with 25 years ago. And I felt more of an obligation. And I knew with the documentary we were doing, we were on the right track.
Right.
And, you know, she talked a lot about this is not throwing him in jail and throwing away the key. It's not about that. It's about people starting to recognize survivors. They're still having this pain and they need to start talking about it. This is more of a social issue than it is, you know, a criminal justice issue. So we knew that we were on the right track with the documentary. And so I did a lot of research on her, found out how she started, why she started the movement. I found out what happened to her when this blew up and went viral. You know, at first she didn't get the credit for it because they thought it was it was a white thing, but it's not. She started it in 2006, and nobody was really looking at the marginalized communities again and the black community.
Okay.
And so it was a conversation for survivors to start talking about Me Too. This happened to me too.
Yes.
And that's how it started until a year ago. They had a hashtag to it, and then it went viral, and then, you know, there was a little bit of fallout regarding the Time magazine. They put some other women on there, and it was her supposed to get the credit. But I think they worked it all out, and she was on the cover after. But it was like a bit of an injustice because she is really the founder. And so like I said, I did a lot of research and found out this movement that she's doing. And I'm thinking, well, what about, say, here in Canada? That is stateside, but things are happening here too that the media needs to talk about it because, again, even sometimes you hear about even domestic violence or harassment in the workplace, it's always like corporate and it's always white, but what about our marginalized communities? And so that's why we named the documentary What About Us? Because exactly what about us and our communities? It happens in our churches, in the schools, in our home, like everywhere. So let's let the media start to come into our communities and see what is happening, and like the government and that need to have resources for women. You know, women are resourceful, yes, but there needs to be more resources. Women need to know that I don't need to be in this dark place. I have somebody I can call or somebody to go or some resources that they can access when they find themselves in this situation. So that's where I wanted to take up back my advocacy work and, you know, start something here. Like this really is a movement because we know that it's happening, and people just need to know that somebody care about them and to help them with their situation.
Now, when I was listening to her talk at TBFF, she brought on to the idea of harm reduction, and she talked a little bit, and that was the angle that she primarily wanted to set the Me Too movement into its, to get it rolling. But it's all about harm reduction, not pointing fingers,
Not
right?
pointing fingers,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, so that's what she inspired the movement to be. But
there's been a lot of talk.
yeah.
There's been a lot of fallout, and and then again, it's all stateside and it's very political. There's a lot going on, but it doesn't change the fact that women are being abused every day. Women are being harassed. Something needs to be done. We need to start the conversation. That's basically it. And she's done tremendous work, and she's doing a lot of work. But I feel that she still doesn't get the right. How can I put it? I know she travels a lot now, maybe different countries and that, but it's all on her own, and maybe they pay her for appearances or whatever. But what about the organization she started? Like, it's okay, there's all this money going around, but none is yet still not going to her organization that she started to help black girls and black women. And that's always a bit of a challenge. But it's like I said, it's hard work, and you got to keep doing it. Nobody wants to talk about these dark things, right?
Right.
But it has to be done. Somebody's got to do the work, right?
So how do you see the Me Too movement on this side of the border, our side of the border?
You know what? To be honest, I'm quite active on social media, and I don't hear anything about it. And that's another thing that motivated me to do something, because I don't hear anything. I think there's one organization called After Me Too. I don't know. Again, it's not focusing on marginalized communities. It's white women, they're actors, they're actresses, they're part of ACTRA, that kind of stuff. Not everybody's an actor.
Yeah.
But most women, like I said, I have the stats here.
Yeah.
1 in 6 girls are being abused every day. They're not actors or whatever. So it's okay to start something, say the mainstream start something, but you have to take it to its diverse perspective. It's everybody, to be honest. It's not just one sector of people. And I think that's what I have a problem with.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
Come into the communities, find out what's going on. Like our counselors and that need to know, like, help the people. I've worked in shelters, and I thought, like, and that's one of the reasons why I left that field, because it's very stressful, because it's always like funding cuts, and you got to apply for funding and all this bureaucratic stuff, and people are suffering. And so that's why I thought, let me do something here. At least I have a media platform. That's the most I can do.
Just to tell a little story about when I think it was a couple years back, Real World Film Festival. I'm pretty sure you know.
Okay, I've heard of I've heard of it.
They had a film about St. Anne's, about the indigenous community, and how they went to school in St. Anne's, and how they treated the children.
Yes.
And sexually abused the children, and like physically abused these children. And I myself have never even heard of anything like that in the media or anything, but it had to take somebody to make a film
exactly
about something like that, to actually inform how these people were I can't believe how they treated these people. It's just nuts.
And it's more so in the indigenous communities. 3.5% women are being abused daily, in indigenous communities. Nobody looks at those communities, and it happens a lot more. What about women, disabled women?
Oh my God.
Trans women. These are women that are abused constantly, daily. The stats are quite high. Like, we need to start doing something about these norms and try to change them.
So
in this generation, try to make the next generation a little easier for them. If we start the conversation now.
So I said I wanted to go back to Rachel because I'm Filipino myself.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay.
without giving
Yeah.
everything away, but if you could shed.
Why did I think you were Spanish? Well, it's kind of
maybe
close.
my name.
Yeah, it's close.
But tell us a little bit about her story without
her story was sexual assault, somebody she knew in her community. She's a media personality, and I think they met before in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
So, yeah. Somebody, I would say maybe she trusted and never expected that to happen. But it did happen. And it was reported. They went to court, but he got a slap on the wrist. So that is upsetting. So from that experience, Rachel, she's doing okay now, but she started a group, Filipinos Speak Out, because again, like I said, when I was doing my research for this documentary, because I have quite a few Filipino friends, so I reached out to them and I said, can you refer me to somebody that had some problems? And everybody says, well, no, none of my friends. So that means nobody talks. The women are like afraid to talk. And I didn't even think of women that are domestic workers. They're abused.
Very
their
vulnerable
employers,
position. Yeah.
Very vulnerable. Their employers abused by their employers and threatened that if you speak, you would go back to the Philippines, you wouldn't have a job.
God
so
damn,
that's quite
really?
scary. And then I started to hear all these stories. And so, yeah, domestic abuse, there's just all kinds of abuse. So we know that even the Filipino women are even probably more abused, quite a lot. Things that you wouldn't even think of, but it's all there. So that's why Rachel started this Filipino Speak Out. She collaborated with, I think, a company called Gabrielle. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they help women from in the domestic situation.
Yeah.
They help out those women, and somewhere they can speak. It's an agency, like a not-for-profit agency. So she's doing great work in the community with that.
So also, getting back to not only in Canada, but where is the Me Too movement very prominent, other than this side of the globe?
It's all over the world because it went viral.
Yeah.
And so it's all over. I think even at the Black Film Festival, Toronto was talking about women from Africa are getting in touch with her and wanted her to come there and speak about it, and it's everywhere because it went viral. And they're forming little groups and trying to do something. But like I said, I'm not aware of any specific group, especially in the diverse communities. For this, there might be, but I don't know. But they're maybe they talk about it at the centers, at the shelters. Maybe they have discussions about it. But the only group that I when I was doing my research is one called After Me Too, and it's more geared to the actors and that.
Okay.
Because they're more like sexual harassment when they're in the entertainment industry.
So let's little focus on the entertainment industry. I know you don't really concentrate on the entertainment industry, but it seems to have like the most impact on just like the average person, right?
Yeah, because it's power, right?
Yeah.
It's power. I'm the producer, you're the actor, that kind of stuff. And it happens a lot there because they know that they really want this part in the film or whatever. So there's a chance to power and control kind of thing. So that's where that.
Why don't we pull up the interview with Dave Chappelle and it was talking about the Me Too movement and yes.
It's more about empathy. That you there but for the grace of God type thing. scary being a white dude now, isn't it? A little bit, no? Well, you're not gonna get me too. It's funny for black dudes to see white people go through this because this is how it always is for us. All my heroes is either murdered by the government or registered sex offenders.
In the Me Too moment, does that change the line for you of what you feel you can say or not say?
Honestly speaking, yeah, I have no idea.
Really?
I don't know. Like, we're all figuring this out, I think, at the same time together. It's a huge collective moment. But as a comedian, I mean, it'd be a very, very difficult thing not to talk about. As a human, it's a very difficult thing not to feel, to be indifferent to. Everywhere you look in America, everyone's pushing the line. One way or another, you know, we got this president because some people say we got to push the line, and we have this movement because people are like we got to push the line, and we got another movement because these people say this is a really busy time. I don't know what the line is. There's a lot of, but there's a lot of changes.
Obviously, Bill Cosby was a hero to me.
Chappelle often talks of Bill Cosby in his routines.
My God, you can't imagine. It'd be as if you heard that chocolate ice cream itself had raped 54 people. You'd say to yourself, oh man, but I like chocolate ice cream. I don't want it to rape.
Our conversation took place soon after Cosby's conviction, and Chappelle spoke of watching one of his victims outside the court.
Now, I remember seeing her sobbing, and the emotional content of her crying, I can't, only she knows what that meant to her. But, you know, justice was meted out for this woman, and it didn't look gleeful. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough to see your heroes fall, let alone be a villain. I was explaining some of my younger family members, you know, like who he was at one point juxtaposed to what's happening now. It's astounding. And it's not, and it's sad for everybody. It's very, 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 it felt like this is important.
Dave Chappelle says that while he walked away.
So I wanted to ask you about, again, the impact sort of like of these people who are in the entertainment industry and like how they have the impact and, you know, him not making jokes but being a comedian himself. But like how do you feel about again, these people who are in positions of power to have an impact and to say something about Me Too?
Right. Well, you know, first of all, it's so wrong. And again, it's about power and privilege. You know, say, for example, I'm Bill Cosby. And, you know, people are looking to him, like sometimes women, like, you know, one of the accusers, she said she just wanted him to get some information from him, how she can either be an actress or whatever conversation. You just sometimes you're innocently, you know, trying to have a conversation. You don't think that somebody's going to switch the conversation on you and go a different way. So, you know, in all, it's wrong. But this is things that's been happening like forever. It's not, it just started. It's only because of social media right now that is blow up like that. But these are things, and nobody wants to really talk about it. Men have been taking advantage of women like forever in whichever way, whether sexual or emotional abuse or financial abuse. You know, and it's really, nobody should be treating each other's like that, like you know. So it's again how we raise our kids, how kids are raised, and this is stuff we learn from our parents, and they learn from their parents before. So it's coming down from a long line of, this has been happening, and it's a secret in the family. Nobody really talks about it. But now we have the opportunity that we can actually talk about it and try to stop it. And even in our generation now, there's so many tools available and so many things available that we can really try to change things a bit. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the documentary. Like I said, it's about education and awareness. It's not bashing anybody, just how we can teach our young boys what they should be doing, teach our young girls to tell. If somebody touches you in an appropriate way, you need to tell somebody about it, and just encouraging and trying to change society. Do our little part while we're here.
And
paid forward.
Does Andrew? I think Andrew explains to that how boys should react to, like how they should react to women, or like how to be appropriate, to have the appropriate behavior with women. Is that also in the film as well?
Part of it is communication.
Yeah.
And I find sometimes lack of communication causes all kinds of problems, because one person thinking in a different way where it's not that way at all. So open communication is always
key.
To be encouraged. Is key, right? And again, we're raising our children, always encourage them to tell. If somebody does something inappropriately, you teach them from very, very young. And so you would able to stop that behavior, or get that person to get help. Like, for example, if the father is a alcoholic, or whatever is going on in that home, because it's really, most of the times it starts in the home. It's usually people that like the odd times it's strangers that would
on the street, or like
on the street. It's
sidewalk.
usually it's in the home, somebody you're close with, an uncle, and it's happening to our men as well. But the majority is women that are being abused. So again, it's just a lot of conversations.
Tell us how you got your director Beverly involved in this film.
Okay, very interesting. Again, I'm more of I'm a producer. I know that for sure. I should never say never, but I don't think I'll be a director. I like getting people together, putting people together, making it happen. That's who I am. And so a friend of mine, she's an actress here in Toronto, and she was having a media launch. So we sponsored her at the media, and they had the media event. And that's where I first met Beverly, because she was the director for that film. And I tracked her down for 4 months, because I didn't really know her, but I knew in my mind who I wanted to direct. This is a very special project. It's very dear to me. I wanted to project exactly what I want it to look like, and that kind of. So I had someone in mind who I wanted to direct. And again, I'm a very spiritual person, so I always call on God, and I said, God, you got to find this person for me. And I just met her, and I asked her. At first, she wasn't sure. And, we talked for about a good 4 months before I got her to agree that you got to do this. It's diverse. She was also like the missing link, because they're all diverse women, and I wanted a diverse director.
Nice.
And I got it. We made the film. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. I learned a lot. Filmmaking is not that easy.
No.
It's not. But I think if you have a vision, you put the professionals together, you pay them well, they'll do the job.
Yeah.
And that's what we experienced. But with all that, I was just so blessed that I was able to be very intimate with the whole project, because I don't know anything about editing, and I learned to edit. Because we did the first part of the edit, because I know exactly what I want, the pieces that I want, what I want to hear, what would touch people. Because again, I brought my skills and my background, my social work background into this project. And so I know exactly how I wanted it to portray it. So I was part of the editing.
Did you take part of the TIFF's Share Her Journey, like the hashtags Share Her Journey?
I was aware of it.
Yeah.
I heard about it, but I didn't. I think that day it snowed, and sorry, I didn't. I'm not going out too much when it's snowing, but I was
Yeah.
wanted to go. It was around a TIFF time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big thing downtown. Yeah.
So, so you're combining this women for What About Us, and you probably were thinking about problem solving, like for these women, or like solutions for these women. What are some of your thoughts on, like, I know a lot of these women, you told me that they've moved forward and gone ahead with their careers.
Some of them have healed. I would
Yeah.
say all of them have not.
Yeah.
There still needs to be some work, but I think most of them have forgiven their abuser.
Mm-hmm. Is that the most important part?
Yes.
Okay.
Because, like I said, we were able to arrange the interview in such a way that we wanted to get that out of them, because, like I said, I don't want to show a film that's bashing anybody, because I was not there, that kind of thing. I just want to hear their story, their feelings, how they felt, how much trauma they went through, and that was my goal, and tell it in the best possible way, and they did a marvelous job.
Nice.
And we did a marvelous job to get it out of them as
Yes.
well. I was at every interview. I was always there. I was always the listener. But we got what we wanted out of them. And my goal is to have panel discussions, have the women, come back, and, as I screen it, have some discussions, because that's really where the conversation starts. And it's awesome, because we're still editing, mind you. We're still editing, because we're taking our time. We want to do justice to it, and it's an awesome job, because, like, I don't know, 30 hours of filming to bring it down to hour and 45 minutes is a lot of editing. It's a lot, and it's all good, rich stuff, but you can't put all of it in. And so,
what did you learn most about this project now at this standpoint, and before you started the project, and like now?
You better have good people skill. Because it's a certain different personalities, different things come up. You got to be able to deal with it at the time. Emotional, a lot of
Jill of all
deep,
trades,
deep emotional stuff, but you remember what you were taught in school.
Yeah.
Right? Empathy.
Yeah.
Compassion. Those things. And filmmaking, like I said, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's all out of pocket. We don't get any funding to do it. This is all our money, our RSPs, everything, because I believe in the project. I believe I'm working in my purpose. I'm operating in my purpose. This is what I've been called to do. I feel an obligation to do it, because I do have the platform. Like, why not? And my hope is that even if it's one woman that is healed from this, or being able to tell her story so that she can help others, I would have done my job here on Earth.
And what type of platforms do you want to bring this to, or what type of film festivals here in Toronto or anywhere else, or do you want to bring this to, like, TVO, PBS, Netflix, or
my goal right now is to show this in the schools, in the colleges, in the universities, in the film festivals. For now, I'm getting all kinds of offer. Like I said, we're still editing, and we have offer in Edmonton already to screen it in Edmonton, LA, this place, Newfoundland. We were just in
Newfoundland, eh?
Newfoundland,
wow.
yes. Yeah, it's all places. Regina. Yeah. We're in talks, possibly doing something in the Peel region. But it's very early, so we're working on that. So, like I said, we're still editing, and there's a lot of offers to screen it. But the sky is the limit. I'm open-minded at this point. Any networks that approach me, but I really wanted to do justice what I made the film to do. So I don't want it to be exploited, or I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm really trying to do.
Absolutely.
So I want to really have control over
Yeah.
how I screen it, where I screen it, why I'm screening it, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
But I'm open-minded. If somebody comes, they want to give me $1 million. Oh, I'll take it with exceptions. I gotta put a few things in there what you can and cannot do with it. But I'm open at this point.
Yes.
Yes.
So you discussed the universities and the schools. Let's pull up that article from the Toronto Star. So just recently, so the government. This is yeah. So
I guess I'm so busy. I missed this one, but I'll check it out.
I'm glad I've
Thank
shared
you.
it with
Yes,
you.
that's
So
beautiful. Thank you.
So the Ontario government is providing $3 million in additional funding to Ontario colleges and universities to combat sexual violence on campus.
Yes.
So Minister Merle Fullerton made the announcement Tuesday at Queen's Park, while also releasing the results. So the online study survey about harassment, stalking, and sexual assault, she described as heartbreaking and disturbing. It's like half.
Yes.
They found that it was like half. So schools have a right to protect students, to do everything to ensure campuses are free from. I think that's one. Like when I went to York University, and those buttons that you needed to press just in case something was happening, was hard to find.
Oh my
They're
gosh,
difficult.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, especially like a school like York University,
there's always
which is like a California type school. They didn't realize it was gonna snow so much, but yeah, those buttons for women to address a certain situation, an emergency SOS situation,
it's hard to find.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Oh boy.
Unless like, you know what I mean. And there's a lot of pockets in York University, and there's a lot of things that has happened at York University.
One of the first universities I would like to, I have some connections that wants to connect me with somebody there, so I can screen it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good that you brought that up.
Yeah. So
to know that.
And I think so it has to start there when in the schools and in the universities, because that's you don't want
high schools.
Yeah, you don't want that sort of behavior to.
Exactly, because you have this like date rapes and these different things, so it's just education and awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was my sort of experience of like, well, what if something happens?
What do you do? Like, how do you get? Yeah.
It was just like.
So maybe they should pay more attention to putting in these safety.
Yeah, and then more like perhaps like something like on your telephone, you text a certain number at university. You know what I mean? I think that's the thing. And but they should really clamp on that, because universities, you have to make it a safe space.
Space, yes. That's the whole idea, and I think that this documentary is so timely.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
So what do you want your audience to take away from this documentary when they come see it?
Yeah.
What do you want them to? I know you're not there to point. I know this is a diverse documentary concentrating on diverse survivors of sexual abuse and such, but I know you're not here to point fingers.
Everyone.
Yes, but
it's for males, female, young women, right? And so this happens across the spectrum. It's not a color thing or anything like that. It's just human. It's a human being. It's human nature, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about humanity. It's not about any. But it's just to get people to start talking. Tell somebody, speak out. Use your voice.
Communicate.
Don't be silent about this at all, because now I don't know if it's because I just started the project or I'm more in the environment of it, but I'm seeing this domestic violence a lot, you know, in the papers, on the news, on social media, a lot of domestic violence, children, you know, it's crazy. It's like it's escalated. And I think I know part of that causes the mental stress, mental illness. It's just a lot going on right now. But if I can take a small part of what's going on and do something about it, I think I would have done something. Yeah.
So, pull us a little bit, tell us a little bit, plug us away with your bio, and tell us a little bit where we can find What About Us and SMJ Magazine. So
Right. Well, we're on all social media platforms, Shell House of Films. And the documentary would be screened on May 9th. And we specifically did it on the Mother's Day because, you know, you can bring a mother out. It's about women. May 9th at the Fox Theater in Toronto. It's on beautiful beaches.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. The tickets it's at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. The tickets are $30 regular, $45 VIP. VIP, you get to meet and greet with the cast. There's red carpet. There is after party. You know, it's really going to be really, really nice. And yeah, and so they can find us on Shell House of Films, Instagram, Shell House of Films, Twitter, Shell House of Films, Facebook. And for the magazine, they can go to www.smjmag.com. And also, if you need to send me an email, it's shellenhouseoffilms@gmail.com. If you want tickets for the documentary, you can go to Eventbrite or Snap Toronto, Snap Beaches. You can get the tickets online there as well. So, yeah, and hit me up on Instagram.
So there you have it, Shelley Jarrett. Thank you so much for bringing What About Us to us here at the Focus Podcast. Good luck with your film.
Thank you.
And good luck with all the great things that you're doing for your community and everybody else in your eyesight.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.